Before we begin, let's take a few moments to worship the Supreme One, the infinitely compassionate One, the Sublime One, the Tathagata, by chanting the Namaskara 3 times all together and with me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Welcome all to another week. We're in the last week of January. How has 2025 been treating you? Good? Could be better? I think the more we understand Dhamma, the more that the day, the month, the year loses its feeling. Because if I asked you, does today feel like January or February? What do you feel? It feels like just another day. If I asked you, is this the start of the month or the end of the month? Just another day. But if I asked you, does it feel like a Saturday or a Sunday? We all have a Saturday feeling because, this is something that we do every Saturday. Therefore, we have that feeling that today's Saturday. But apart from that, are we in 2024 or 2025? What do you feel? I remember, so normally we write dates on books right? And an issue that I always face is I keep forgetting what year we're in usually in January and February. I just keep forgetting. So I'd always write 2024 and then remember, no, we came into a new year, so you ought to write 2025. Do you feel that you're in 2025? Who knows, we can actually be in 2030. But all calendars just say 2025. See, the more and more we understand these concepts of the Dhamma, the more we understand the the truth or the reality of the world, the more time loses feeling. Because time itself is something that our mind makes, our mind can feel. Because it's very, very strange when you really think about time. Yes, we have clocks that tick once every second. Yes, and after every 60 ticks, that's a minute. After 60 minutes, we have an hour. And after 24 hours, we have a day, etc., etc., etc. But I'm talking about what we feel, the time that we feel. Because clocks, they work in their way, right? And so we can define what a second is. Just like we can define how long a meter is or a centimeter is. We can define time like that. However, I'm talking about feeling. The feeling of time. See, when you do something that you enjoy so much, why does time feel so quick? But when you do something that you find tedious or boring, it seems to drag on for hours and hours, even though only a couple minutes have gone by. Because this is a feeling that we have, the feeling of time. Because you can play tricks. It's very easy to play tricks on the mind when it comes to time. Because I think something that we all face, and maybe once or twice, or maybe quite often in our lifetime, is, sometimes when you oversleep, or you had to stay awake throughout an entire night, right, doing something that's really important, and then you wake up midday or you wake up in the afternoon, you feel so disorientated because because you feel as though it's morning. You look outside, it feels what? It's afternoon, it's getting dark. I remember sometimes, after our big events in the monastery, sometimes we have to stay overnight for 24 hours, sometimes even more. And after we fall asleep and we wake up, you look outside and it's dark. So we think, okay, it's probably like 4 or 5 in the morning. We look at the time, yeah, it's 4 or 5, but not in the morning, in the late afternoon. Because again, time is what we feel. And it becomes worse, and it becomes worse once you do not have an alarm clock to wake you up. So I really wanted to explain to all of you a concept that we have started in the monastery. The monks, Anagarikas, and the monks and Anagarikas especially, and some of the Anagarikas. And this concept is what we call the Satipinawase. Now, this is I feel one of the most interesting concepts I have ever had in my life. Because every time we think about this, every time I think about this, the first thing that happens is I compare. The life of an ordained monk and the life of a layperson, how different it is. So to briefly explain this Satipinawase concept, right? We all have, as bare minimum, we all have a place to stay. Right? All of us will have different places. Some of us will have a massive, massive building. Some of us will only have a very small building, maybe just a room. But at the very minimum, we all have a place that we can call ours. I think, as I remember, that's part of our, it's part of our needs, right? A place that we have to stay. Now, this Satipinawase concept is one of the most interesting because what happens is, in the monastery, so for example, for our monks, we have a building. In this building, and I kid you not, there are no lights, right? Just beds. Why? Because this is a place where there are just beds. Whose beds are they? No one. So all we have to do is we go in, right? When we need to fall asleep, we go in. We find a bed, right? Beds have numbers, right? We write the number on a board that has a name, right? We write the number. We lay out our robe, and we sleep. After 6 hours, we wake up, we take our robe, we make the bed, and we leave. Now, why I find this really interesting is, whose bed is that? It's no one's. As a temporary space, just to fall asleep for 6 hours. That's it. You wake up, you clean the bed, and you leave. Next day, if you try looking for the same bed, trust me, 100% of the time, it's occupied. Someone else has taken it. So you go and look for another one. Because this is really important because it is something that really helps on our journey. Because what you have to remember is our minds are like, leeches. It always finds something to latch itself onto before letting go. Always finds something. If I was to ask you, right? So most of you here are Stila Shravikas, Shravikas, Yiluvasis, Anagarikas, and those who are in the depth of practice. If I was to ask you, how many things do you have with you? How many things do you own right now? Now, most of you will say, not much. So for example, for a monk, we only have 2, 3 robes, right? And we have an alms bowl. Everything else, apart from that, is something that we just use. We don't really own it. So of course we have toothbrushes and razors and whatnot. Personal hygiene, put aside. Everything else is something that we just use. So we have pens, pencils, but these are just things that we use. They don't belong to us. But if we were to compare what we were like, what it was like before the life of an ordained monk, or before the life of striving to nibbana, what was life like? Cupboards filled with clothes. Pantries filled with what? Plates. Plates that we never use. Right? Cupboards filled with clothes that we never use. Right? Now, as someone who lives in the monastery, well, the Sita Shravika, Sita Vasis, right? Do you choose your menu? When you come to the monastery, do you choose your menu? Do you go like, today I want paripu and soya and a bit of salad? Do you choose your menu? The menu is chosen for you. Now, you could say, well, I really want to choose my menu. I want to choose what I eat. But the monastery provides it for you. Now, before you're in charge. You're the one who says, okay, today I don't want to have rice. I've had rice for 2-3 weeks now. Today I want to have pasta. So what do? You make pasta. And then you eat pasta and you enjoy, you make and you eat, and then you feel that you enjoyed it and you think, wow, that was great. But as now in an ordained life, now what? Your life is not in your hands. Your life is in the hands of others. Now someone else decides what you eat. Someone else decides pretty much what you're going to do today. Now, why this is really important is that you are not feeding you. Now, what I mean by you are not feeding you is that you're not feeding you. This concept of, me. Because something that you always find is, like I said, the mind is always a leech. It always finds something to latch itself onto. And one thing that it latches itself onto, the strongest, is pride and ego. Is pride and ego, me. I'm important. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. If it's not I, then it's we. We are doing this. We are together. We are practicing the path. It always looks for something to latch itself onto. Now, using these concepts, you see, this is why an ordained life is so important. Because it's by using these concepts, leeches, they don't like salt at all, right? Or soap. Or anything that's not normal, right? So it's almost as though you're applying soap on the ground. Now the leech has nowhere to attach itself onto. And therefore you're not feeding, this ego. Because something you really realize when you really think about this, almost everything you do is based. It has some sort of connection to pride and ego. Today you have the opportunity to, let's say, sweep the Dhamma hall. Who's sweeping the Dhamma hall? I'm sweeping the Dhamma hall. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it to the best I possibly can. Yes, it's a very wholesome thought, but what are you feeling? The sense of me. I'm important. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Again, if it's not I, it's we. We are all here together. We're doing this all together. Still, that's feeding what? Pride and ego. So like this, Your mind is always a leech, always looking for somewhere to attach itself onto. This is why, being in the association of the Mahasangha, being in the association of such extraordinary teachers is important. They find ways so you can push your boundary, therefore you no longer can feed this feeling of I. Because if I asked you to explain your daily routine before coming to the monastery, what would it be like? I did this, I did that, and I went to work, I earned money, then I bought a car, I bought a house, I did this, I did that, I got married, I had children, my children went to school, I did this, I did that. And you're always feeding this concept of, well, this is all the things that I do. But now as an ordained life, now in the life of the monastery, see, that's why ordained life isn't just physical. An ordained life is all to do with mental, because I know, so most of you are here, but there are some of you online who can't, for various reasons, are not able to. So again, physical life, or the ordained life is not just a physical, robe and a bald head. An ordained life is a mental state. It's being fully, it's almost like surrendering to your teacher, saying, teacher, you're in control. You have the reins. I trust my teacher. Take the reins. You tell me what to do. If the teacher says, let's go left, let's go left. If the teacher says, let's go right, let's go right. Because now you don't think that, okay, I'm doing this. Instead, my teacher has said this. I don't decide what I eat. Someone decides what I eat. Now you're not feeding this concept of ego. You're not feeding this concept of pride because you're not the one doing this. Because now you can really, really understand, well, if it's not me, then who? So coming back to the Satipana, right? So this is literally almost like a sleep dormitory. Our mind always looks for a place to latch itself onto. So if it doesn't, even at the bare minimum, it attaches itself onto, well, where it stays. Simply put, let's say, right, we're all sat down here. And say suddenly you have the urge to go to the toilet. You go and you come back, and when you come back, someone's taking your seat. Why do we feel this slight bit of, that's not right, that's my seat? Why do we feel that? We all sat down, you get up, and when you come back, someone's taken your seat. Why do you feel upset? Because for that fraction of a second, what do you feel? You feel that seat is whose? Who does that seat belong to? Me. Because why? Our mind loves to attach itself onto something. It really enjoys just attaching itself onto, to hang off of something. Even though nothing in this room is yours, you take ownership of that chair that you're sat on. See, this is why it is really, really amazing to have such great teachers. Because once your life is in the hands of your teacher will say, okay, today you're not sitting here, today you're sitting there. Okay. Inside you'd feel, well, that was my chair. Why do I now sit here? Inside you'll have this burning question. But because you have this burning question, now you can look for the answer. Because, the practice of the path is, now I was talking about this with one of our Anagarikas. The practice of a path is the most artificial thing that we can ever do. Why is that? Throughout our entire life, throughout our entire existence in samsara, how often have we practiced the path? Earning money comes naturally to us, more natural than practicing the path. You know, some of you will know where you're going with your eyes closed. You'll know exactly where to go because you know the place, because it's kind of natural. It comes naturally to you. That's why small young children will know who their mother is. It comes naturally to them that this is my mother, this is my father. That these people will protect me. This person is I can't trust this person yet. That's why babies, when they're in the hands of strangers, will start crying, because they naturally know that this is dangerous. That I don't feel safe. You know, if you think about this, in your sansara, you have done almost everything except practice the path. That's why the practice of the path is one of the most unnatural things that you will ever do. It's going against the flow of what you normally would do. If you think about it, it's almost like you're taking a 180-degree turn. So the practice of the path is the most unnatural thing to do. Therefore, we always need something or someone to prompt us. Therefore, you will always almost have to force yourself to practice in the beginning. Once it's forced, then does it become natural? Because if you don't push yourself to think about things, well, unfortunately, you're not going to. That's almost like saying, without learning maths, would maths just naturally come into your head? Like you're just walking down the street and then you suddenly realize that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Will that ever happen? Like just try to remember when you first learned Pythagoras' theorem, how hard that was. Right? Was it natural to you? No, it's something that you had to practice. Right? So the teacher will draw the triangle out and say, okay, this plus this squared plus this squared is this squared, and then give you several questions. And pretty much you had to force yourself to do some practice. Once you have practiced, now what? Now most of you probably don't do maths as much as you used to. But what at the time when you're doing maths, now what? When someone just said a squared, you said what? Plus b squared equals c squared. You could answer that question because you knew it so well. But to start out off, it had to be what? Forced. Never will you naturally go around, you're just walking down a road and suddenly, the idea strikes, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Not even Pythagoras knew that. What, do you think Pythagoras was one day just walking down a street and finally realized that a squared plus b squared equals c squared? It wasn't something that happened like this. It was something that happened because, again, it was something that he had to force out of him. Because he was a mathematician and he had a question. He went on the beach and he drew a triangle, a right angle triangle. And after many, I feel, many months of just looking at this right angle triangle, looking for something to, some sort of theory to find the lengths of the triangle, he came up with a solution. Again, it wasn't something that came naturally. It was something that in the beginning he had to force. Like that, the practice of the path is something that you have to force at first. But once you have forced it, now it becomes more of a habit. I think the best example I can give is, so at the monastery, we have, Guru Vandana. Yeah. We have Guru Vandana where we chant a stanza and we worship our teachers. Now, here's my question. Is this Guru Vandana for you just words, or is there feeling involved? Now, in the beginning, what was it? Just words. Abasarai Swamin Hanse, oh Kasa and you're just listening out to other people and just copying them. In the beginning, it was just words, nothing else. So that was forced. But after some time, now what? After some time, now what? Now you start to feed it meaning. Now, with your mouth, you're saying these words, but in your mind, what are you thinking? May all the merits I've accumulated, may you rejoice in that. May the merits that you've done, may I rejoice in that. If I have done anything to hurt yourself or any of these Aryans, may I be forgiven. That comes in the beginning. No, that comes afterwards. After you start. Same thing with the practice. Same thing with practicing the path. At first, it has to be something that you force yourself to do. Something that you have to, really think about. You have to really push yourself to think about. Because it's not something that comes naturally. But I promise and I guarantee that once you start it, then it will become natural. Then it will become second nature. For example, if you are someone that every time you consume a meal or every time you consume something, you think about what you are eating or you are contemplating. I promise you, when you start that, and after some time, naturally, every time you pick up some sort of meal to consume, the contemplation will be something that happens. Now, you could say it's something that happens subconsciously, or you can say that it's something that happens almost involuntarily. No, it's just a habit that you had. But the thing is, this habit is something that's taking you towards what? What's it taking you towards? Nibbana. It's taking you towards reality. It's showing you what reality truly is. For example, we've always talked about this, to think about food as a medicine. Because food is a medicine that is trying to heal the illness of what? Hunger. If you truly realize that, and as you are consuming a meal, if you really think about that, I promise every time you pick up a meal, that's the first thing you think about. This is a medicine. Should I be enjoying a medicine or should I be taking medicine as I should? What are clothes? What are clothes? Also a medicine. No? When you have a wound, what do you do? What do you do to the wound? You have a cut, right? You fall over, you get a cut. What do you do to the cut? Well, you sterilize it and you put antiseptic and whatnot. But after, what do you do? You dress the wound. That sounds very familiar, right? You dress wounds. What else do you dress? What else do you dress? The body. Because what happens if you don't dress? The wound will what? Will become infected. Things will happen. So right now you have to think about this. Why am I wearing clothes? Because I'm dressing a wound. I'm using it to cover a wound. The wound of the body. See, again, these are things you have to contemplate on, right? Now, every single time you start, you wear the clothes that you're wearing. This is what happens. You now come into so at first it's forced. After a while, it becomes natural. It becomes second nature. The moment you pick up something to wear, this is what comes into your mind. So again, at first it's forced. That's why the Satipatthana Vasa is such an amazing concept, because it's something that all of our monks have to do. So in the beginning, it feels as though, I don't have a place to stay. But after a while, what happens? Now we go into the state of contemplation because it's something that's unnatural. You have to, be probed. In the beginning, someone has to probe you. See, this is what we do. Guru Handru, right? Your teachers, right? In the sermons and all these people and all these things are there to probe you, to say, hey, practice. Hey, think about this. Do this. Do that. It's almost like we're poking you and saying, okay, do this now. Why are we poking? Because there needs to be someone that does it. There needs to be someone that pokes to remind you. Because remember, this is the most unnatural thing that you've ever done in your entire samsara. In your samsara, you've been almost everything. Right? Like you can guarantee that in your samsara that you've been the best of the best and the worst of the worst. Because who knows, in our previous lives, what we have done, we have no idea. But there's one thing that we can be certain that we've never done. What's that? We're doing what we're doing now, practicing the path and attaining Nibbana. Throughout your samsara, you have somehow found the way to infiltrate a high security building and take something from it. However, you've never done what? In your entire samsara, sat down, listened to Dhamma and tried to understand Dhamma. Huh? You have gone round and massacred millions of people, but yet you've not sat down and listened and contemplated on the Dhamma. That seems really strange, isn't it? When you compare what you've done in your samsara and what you're doing now, what you're doing now is something that you've never done. This is why it takes a lot of time. Sometimes, we get to read stories about these great arahants, right? And, they sat down, they listened to one sermon and poof, they become arahants. And how lucky they are. Right? Why can't we be like them? Why? It's because we don't have the Buddha. Right? If the Buddha was there, we would have become arahants in the first sermon. No, it's not that. It's actually not because of the Buddha. What is it? Why do these great arahants, why do they take only such a little time to understand Dhamma? It's not because of the Buddha. It's because of what? In their previous lives, they've been doing the same thing. They've been practicing the same thing. You can almost say they've been collecting all the ingredients to mix together. Or you can almost say, in their previous lives, they've taken the ingredients, they've mixed them together. Only in this last life, when they go meet the Buddha, they just put the bun in the oven. That's all they do. Because that's all they have left to do. Unfortunately for us, we still have to collect, right? Fulfill our perfections. Right? Not only that, we have to practice, do so much. What do you guys think? We should all give up and finally, do and maybe when we meet the Buddha in many countless eons, maybe we'll do it then. What do you think? Well, even if we were to go and meet the Buddha, we would have to do the same things. So what we're doing now and what we'll have to do if we meet the Buddha is exactly the same. Because this is entirely dependent on what? This is entirely dependent on the amount of merits and the amount of determination. A question that is frequently asked is, is the future predetermined? Is there such thing as destiny? Are we walking on a path that is set for us? And that's a good question. That's a very good question, because you can realize where that question comes from. If everything is cause and effect, is if everything is cause and effect, you can say, well, that means everything goes this way and this way and this way and this way, and this is the effect, and this is the last outcome. You can say that, okay, it looks as though it is predetermined. It looks as though, there is fate. However, our vipaka, the results of the karma that we do doesn't make a predetermined path. Instead, it is something that changes every moment. So it's like this, right? If you take every dot to be an individual event, right, or an individual mind, you can technically say, well, this one did this one got to this one got to this one got to this, and this one went to this. So this and this were predetermined. Like, it was supposed to happen like this. The only reason that we feel, so this is why we have words like, destiny and fate, right? It was destiny for me to have been here. It was fate that I was to lose my job. The only reason that we feel that is because what else do we feel? What else do we feel? That this and this are on the same what? Are on the same what? That it's on the same timeline. That these two are connected. However, every single mind is a discrete mind. We have like discrete data and continuous data. You know that, right? Discrete data, you have continuous data, for example. That's why you can draw data in a line. Discrete data you can't draw as a line, you can draw as bar charts. A mind isn't something that you can draw in a continuous. It's more discrete. However, if you feel, right, a mind that has ignorance feels what? Time. Therefore, you think, okay, this and this and this and this are all one thing. It's all one path. Therefore, this will lead to this, will lead to this, will lead to this, will lead to this. So this and this is connected. However, every mind is an individual mind that arises only at that moment. So that's why you can change your vipaka. Because your mind will only arise according to the environment. Now, this is why it's really important, right? To understand that you can change the flow of vipaka. Because a mind will always arise according to its environment. A mind will always arise according to its environment. Whether you like it or not, that's how it works. To change your vipaka, this is why you have, these strong determinations are things that can change the vipaka that comes to you. The determination that you have. So, for example, now an example I can give here is, will a person always be good? They are all just, they were born good and they'll pass away good. Is a person always going to be good? It's dependent, isn't it? Dependent on what? Dependent on other factors. So, for example, You can say that at one moment, they come across a friend, a bad association. Now, they were good for the first 20 years of their life. They come across a friend, a bad association. Now what? Now, will it continue this way? Will they continue to be a good person? Well, the mind arises according to what? The environment. Therefore, the bad association would change the path of the mind. Making strong determinations, when I mean strong determinations, these are determinations that come straight from the heart. You know, like when children have the determination that somehow I'm gonna pass my exams, I'm gonna do so well. Most of these determinations are just half-hearted ones. They're like, oh, I really want to pass my exams, but inside they think, but I don't want to do any work for that. But if they make a strong determination that, what, I'm gonna stop at nothing to pass my exams. Now, what will happen is their vipaka will change accordingly. They will be changing the flow of their vipaka like that. So when even a different vipaka comes, because of such a strong determination, they can see. It's not that they choose. We can't choose, but we can change the causes. See? Okay, let's see. Right. Person A. Person A. Person A has the vipaka to feel pain in this area. Person B has the vipaka to feel something leave their hand. Now, what vipaka will do is say, okay, this person wants to feel something leave his hand. This person wants to feel, needs to feel something pain in his head. So what does vipaka do? And connect the dots. And so B throws something and it hits A. Now let's say B does it purposely. If A can change this vipaka from happening, how? So this is not saying you can change all vipakas, but there are some vipakas that you can't change. How can you stop this from happening? So let's say he can't move away. Let's say A can't move, he's stuck. B can't move, he's stuck. What else can you do to change the environment? In the mind of A, for B to throw something to hit the mind of A, B has to feel anger. For B to feel angry, there has to be the condition of making angry in the mind of A. But if A is someone who is continuously practicing what? Noble loving kindness or Arya Maitri. Always spreading love and compassion towards other people. That itself is enough to what? change the environment. So yes, A still has the vipaka. No matter what you do, you have your vipaka. You have the result of the karma that you've done, that you're gonna feel pain in the head. However, this connection cannot be made. All because A is someone who what? Practices what? Aramaitri. Because they make a determination. I am not going to hurt a single being. What? Sila pranabhutin krihe hitanu kampiya karitu karami. Having such a strong determination can change vipaka. So your vipaka is not predetermined. It changes with every moment. This moment will affect the next. That's why, but then you can say, well, the Buddha was able to prophesize, right? The Buddha was able to prophesize and say, in another 2,500 years, the Buddha Sasana will end. If vipaka if it's not predetermined, how can he say that? The Buddha it's not that the vipaka, or it's not that everything is predetermined. However, by understanding the causes, can you not understand the effect? Simply put, okay, if I was to leave this here, I'm trying to find the best place. Okay. That'll be enough. Good. If I was to leave this here, can't you determine what may happen? Can't you determine what may happen? So the plate's on the edge of the table. Okay, but you can still say, well, it might not. Let's change the environment. So now let's remove all of you, and let's put a group of very, very active little children. Can't you say with some degree of certainty what will happen? You can't be 100% sure, but you can say, I predict, I make a very valid prediction that within the next 3 hours, that plate will be on the floor, or that saucer will be on the floor. Because looking at the conditions, you can think, this is what's going to happen. This is what more may happen. So the Buddha, understanding how the way the world works, looks at the causes and says, according to these causes, this will be the effect. In 2005, the Buddha Sasana will only be 5,000 years. That's it, and full stop. Just 5,000 years. That's how long the Buddha Sasana will ever be. So it's not that it's predetermined. He just looked at the causes. By looking at the causes, you can determine the effect. Like, will it fall? Will it not fall? We don't know all the causes, therefore we don't know if it will fall or not. But to a certain degree, we can expect. Person A falls into the association of Aryans, right? Of people who practice the path. Make your predictions. Make your predictions. Person A has associates. All the 5 people that person A associates are people who practice the path, who vigorously practice the path. Right? Make your predictions. What do you think will happen to person A? What do you think the probability of him going into the 4 great hells? What's the probability? Pretty low, isn't it? Person B is associating, is associating both good and bad people. No, again, I'm not saying that there's good and bad people, but people that he associates 5 people that do both good and bad, but has a tendency to do more bad. What do you think will happen to person B? Make your predictions. Looking at the causes, you can predict the effect, because that's how the world works. Cause and effect. That's how the Buddha can look and say, okay, in this Buddha sasana, right, in this Buddhist ministry, right, you will become this person and this person and this person. He's able to do that because he looks at the causes. He looks at the causes now and says that this is what's going to happen in the future. Now, that's not that saying that, that's exactly that it is predetermined. It's all cause and effect. You see, everything is you can almost say that it is always and will always be just cause and effect. However, a mind that feels ignorance, or the mind that feels jati, that has ignorance, will connect the dots. Will say, it's predetermined. However, when you understand that it's all cause and effect, it is all discrete minds, all separate events. Does that make sense? That fate isn't something that isn't something that is real, but a mind can perceive it. Destiny isn't something that is actually there, but the mind can perceive it. How can it be perceived? How can it be perceived? If you connect the dots. If you connect the dots, then you can perceive it. However, it's not really there. No, the two events doesn't know it's connected. Okay, I'll put this back just in case it falls. We don't want that to fall, do we? Okay. We change the causes, we change the effect. Now will the saucer ever fall down? No, not ever, but will it fall down now? No, because why? The causes change, the effect will also change. Or is it fate that the plate's not going to change, it's not going to fall down? No. According to the causes, do we have the effect? See, this is very interesting when you really think about the world and looking through the lens of cause and effect. The world becomes really very, I'd like to say, easy. Because it's not that, this is happening. No, the causes are coming together to give rise to an effect. This effect is good, this effect is bad. No, it is just an effect. You become really, at ease. Like we talked about last time, right? The car doesn't start. You'll only become upset or angry if you think that car is under your control. If it's not cause and effect, but it's a fixed car. It's a car that works according to what you want. But when you realize that it's just cause and effect, the car doesn't start. Okay. The causes align in such a way that the car doesn't start. Okay. Can I fix the causes? No. Let me see if I can find someone that can fix the causes. You're driving and you get into an accident. Right, let's say you're driving and you accidentally or you and another car collides. For this example, everyone is safe. Why did that happen? Because the other person wasn't looking where they were going, right? They're blind as a bat. They're not looking where they're going. That's why they hit us. Is that why? No, the causes arise in such a way that the two cars had collided. I'm pretty sure, especially, within you've probably heard of, miracles where, earthquakes happen and an entire building collapses, but there's a person that's completely unharmed underneath all this. I remember, many many years back, if I remember correctly, there was an earthquake back in like the 2010 maybe. Uh, if I remember correctly, in Haiti, and it was tragic. I remember listening on the news. I was very small, listening on the news that there's an earthquake and this, and on the news they showed a picture of of rubble, and the rescue services going digging under this rubble and just like taking out a baby that was unharmed. Nothing has touched it. The baby wasn't even crying, and they're like, "Oh, look, it's a miracle that this baby was unharmed, right? That nothing had happened to the baby." No, it's not a miracle. What had happened? The causes aligned that the baby isn't harmed. Now, you can say the probability of something like that to happen is very low. That's why it's a miracle. But it's not that it's chance. It wasn't that it was a chance that happened. No, it was that the causes aligned in that sort of way. So when two cars collided, is it something that is, is it something that is unusual, or is it something that is not supposed to happen? No, the causes align in such a way that this is what had to happen. Now, can you be angry with the other person for hitting you? No, you realize, okay. I think something that that people really forget, and most of you don't drive anymore, but if you do drive, um, now you forget is once you collide, one of the first things you should always do is check if the other person's okay. Now, that's not because it's you have to go check. No, because you have to remember that although your mind now is starting to understand the cause and effect nature, that mind doesn't. That mind is now very, very upset. Because why? Because they've hit you and they've hit another car, and now they're almost shocked. Because you understand it's all cause and effect. They don't. So it's always best to go and come and talk to them and say, okay, it's okay. Like if you breathe, it's okay. Well, this is just what happened. We're both okay. It's fine. Let's settle this properly, right? There's no need to be shocked about this. It's okay. Because although you understand cause and effect, they don't. See, once you come to look at the world through the eyes of cause and effect, life becomes so much more peaceful. So much more peaceful. Because now you understand why things are happening. Now, do you not remember when you first truly understood about karma and vipaka, how kind of relaxing that was? Someone did something to you. You realize it's not their fault. Whose fault is it? It's my own. Because why? I did the karma, therefore I got the vipaka. I don't remember doing the karma, but that's okay because I did it someday. This is why I got what I deserved. Now you're not going around blaming others. Now this is one step ahead, understanding cause and effect. Because if you understand karma vipaka, you still have, they did something to me, but that's okay. Understanding cause and effect, understanding anicca, now you don't see they did something to me. What do you see? An event has happened. An event has happened. Full stop. Now you're not trying to console your mind. Instead, you realize that an event has happened. They didn't do anything to me. Something has happened. This event has happened. They shouted at me. That event has happened. Okay. Okay. But for you to get to that, you really, really need to start practicing and continue to practice this understanding of what? Anicca. Looking at the world through the views of, through the lens of anicca. Whenever something is happening around you, see it through the lens of anicca. See it through the lens of cause and effect. You're walking down this path, and you saw someone fall over. What is the first thing you should think of? You should think two things. One thing is to help, of course, that comes naturally to you, right? Second thing is what? It's cause and effect. You're going on the arms, going to arms. And they've run out of paripu. They've run out of the dal curry. What should you think? Well, you should think two things. Number one is to inform, right? Because it's your duty to inform. Number two is what? To understand what? Is it cause and effect? The causes have aligned in such a way. So this is not saying that, you shouldn't inform. Please do inform, because it's your duty to inform. Not just yourself, but the people behind you also don't have this dal curry. So you have to inform. However, you should also think what? This is what? Cause and effect. Your teacher is late for your teacher's meeting. What should you think? Two things. What's the first one? Inform. Excuse me. I have a teacher's meeting today, and he hasn't arrived yet. She hasn't arrived yet. Can you send them a message? Inform. Second thing is what? Understand what? Cause and effect. By doing this, no matter what happens in your life, suddenly you have the opportunity to offer a glass of water to Guru Hamanu. What should you think? Yes, finally, after so long, I have the opportunity to offer a glass of water to my teacher. What? Or what? What should you think? The causes have aligned for this effect. It's cause and effect. Do you not see how different life is when you see through the lens of cause and effect? See through the lens of anicca. Now, no matter what happens to you, see, this is the thing. This is a practice. Now, me telling you this is the easy part. Is it not? Because now you're like, right, practicing anicca, this is what's going to happen. Oh, wow, and all this. That's the easy part. The difficult part is what? Is the actual practice of it. To actually think about this when something happens. See, this has to be something that you continuously do. A pen falls to the floor. What should you think? Two things. Pick it up, and also what? Cause and effect. See, this isn't something because right now it may seem forced. Right now it may seem that I have to think about this like anicca. The pen fell on the floor due to this cause. And now it almost feels as though it's artificial. Unnatural. However, this is nature. You're trying to understand nature here. Because then you can say, well, aren't I thinking something aren't I thinking about something that's extra? Because you first normally you feel the pen fell. Now you think the pen fell and anicca. Aren't I thinking about one extra thing here? Isn't that unnatural? The pen falling is the unnatural part. What's the natural part? Anicca. It is natural to the world, but unnatural to your continuous to your your mind pattern or your mental thinking pattern. But by practicing, next, no matter what happens, anicca comes. Okay, you tell me. Okay. A dog starts barking so loud that you can't hear what I say. What should you do? What should you do? Two things. First one is what? So when I say inform, it's either inform or do something, right? Do something about it. So inform. Like, can we get that? Can we remove the dog? Second thing, cause and effect. The causes have aligned in such a way for this effect to play out. Is this effect a good effect, or is this effect going to benefit myself and other people? If so, great. If not, can we find a way to help more to benefit all? So even an arahant, if a dog was barking, an arahant would go and actually shoo the dog away. What? Because he doesn't accept, or he or she doesn't accept the vipaka? No, because they realize that if the dog stops barking, more people will have more benefit, will benefit more from this. You see, this is the power of just anicca. This is the power of just anicca. Now, most of you have listened to these sermons for some time now, so now you can. It's not just anicca. You have others. What? Dukkha. You have another one. What? Anatta. But my advice would be just to take one. Take one for a time being and put it into practice. Because what you realize is anicca, dukkha, anatta. Yes, there are three different things. However, they're really closely linked. If you practice anicca, dukkha, anatta are also feelings. Practice dukkha, anicca, anatta is also there. Practice anatta, anicca, dukkha is also there. So just focus on one. Focus on one and practice it. Try to put it into every nook and cranny in your life. Whether you're going to have arms or whether you are going to decorate the Dhamm hall. Put one in. Put anicca, dukkha, or anatta. Just take one and put it into practice. Something happens, anicca. This is just anicca. Because once you really understand this, now nothing can actually hurt. Nothing can hurt. Your teacher comes and starts scolding you. I don't know why would they scold you? Let's say, I don't know, why would your teacher scold you? You tell me. My teacher scolded me for many things, but I don't know what do they do? What do you do wrong that they can scold you for? Huh? Okay. Your teacher has given you a task to do within the week, right? In your guru homework, right? In your teacher's meeting. You don't do it. Now, knowing our monks, I know that they'll accept it for the first week, right? Because they realize that you're all very busy and you have lots of other things. But let's say you continuously for the previous, say, month or two, you have forgotten to do, or you have missed doing the task. Now, what would your teacher do? Well, when I say scold, they're not going to shout at you, don't worry. But they'll tell you in a very stern way, right? Now what? If you feel, okay, let's say they are now scolding you. Your teacher is now scolding you. What should you think? What should you think? This is cause and effect. Because of these causes, do I have this effect? How can I change this effect? By changing the what? Excuse me. By changing the causes. How can I change the causes? Maybe if I start doing what he tells me to do. He says to spend 10 minutes going to chant Buddhagun every day. Let's do this. Do you not see how easy and how calm life becomes by just practicing just one thing? Anicca. And this is not even going into deeper concepts. Did we talk about self here? Did we talk about fixed and did we talk about all this? No, these are like last time. These are layers. Start by attacking one layer at a time. Sometimes it's easier to think about these layers than think about jati. But by practicing this, you will start thinking about jati. A question that I remember, every day at 4:30 in the morning, and we have a doctrine discussion. And I remember a question that one of our monks had asked another one, and it was very interesting. Is Guru Hamdru has been talking about the eyes and the ears, right, and how they work. Do we need to know that to attain nibbana? Like, will an arhat need to know how an eye works and how an ear works for them to attain nibbana? Yes, to a certain extent. Yes, not that they have to know that the ear has an eardrum which has 3 bones and it has the cochlea and all that. They don't need to know that, but what do they need to know? That sound is what? Sound is what? Is a process of the mind. That they need to understand. They don't need to understand how the ear works. They don't need to understand how the eye works. But they need to understand what? That sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch are what? Our processes, our feelings of the mind, not something that's in the physical world. So that's the thing. Like, so even while you start practicing about putting anicca, dukkha, anatta into every situation you possibly can, you will get to a point. You will get to a point where you'll be thinking about jati. That will happen. But to start this, start up here. Start with the easiest things. That's why they say it's always best to start with the easiest things. So you hear the story in 2 ways, right? You hear the story saying you start with the easiest things and then start making it become harder. And there'll be other people who say start hardest and and then start doing easier things. When you start with the hardest thing, what happens is you become very disencouraged very quickly. For example, right, let's say you have been given the job to clean the entire monastery, right? Now, so you've got to clean the entire monastery, and then you have to, say, tidy up your bed. Now, some people will say, start with the biggest thing first. But sometimes you'll be really disencouraged. The whole monastery? You mean so? You mean the library? And you mean the hospital? The visitors' kuti? This the dhamma hall and this the kitchen and this. That's too much, and very quickly you become overwhelmed. But if you start off with the easiest, all I have to do is what? Tidy up my bed. Done. Okay. Next what? I just need to tidy up the kitchen. Done. Next, the dhamma hall. Done. Next. Starting with the smallest and easiest, it gives you the motivation to do what? The next one. So start from the top layers and work your way down. So with anicca, dukkha, anatta, start with the top layers and work your way down. Trust me, you will go down. You will start to think about, these really deep concepts, but it's always best to start at the top. Because remember, success is what? A destination? No, we have this on this Atlas books, the first page. Success is a journey. Success is a journey, not a destination. It's the journey you take to get to the destination. That is what success is. Honestly, being an arhat isn't what you should be trying to aim for. It's the journey to become the arhat. That's what you have to do, because that's the success that we want. That is the success that we want. We really, really want to take the journey. So this is the thing. So understanding the eyes, the ears, the nose, sight, sound, smell, taste, that's something that comes along in the path. That's why, this is why whenever you get a chance to talk to people who have no understanding of the Dhamma, don't start talking about jati. Don't. Why? Because do you think they can grasp that concept like this? How long do you think it took you to understand that concept? It took me how many years? It's like trying to explain a 5-year-old the concept of I don't know, the concept of momentum to a 3-year-old. Do you think it's possible? But the 3-year-old was not going to be interested. So what do you teach a 3-year-old? First you talk to them about simple concepts, and then you work your way up. So that's the thing. If you ever get a chance to talk to people, talk to them about the most simple, the most understandable things. And then, excuse me, on their journey, they will come to the complex. They'll come to the complex. It will happen slowly. This is why, like, if you the one thing that I always do is, I love looking at I call it the evolution of the Dhamma. And it's not that the Dhamma is evolving. No. It's how our teachers have taken steps. Now, it's increasing they're increasing their own understanding on the path as well. But me, on looking at my teachers and what they preach and to what they do now, you can see certain points where they've changed what they've talked about, right? They first talked about, things are not in my liking, and then they start talking about rupa and sanya sankara vinyana, and I used to think, I remember talking about this with one of our monks. I call it the evolution of the Dhamma. Not that the Dhamma is changing in any sort of way, but the way our teachers have taken us on a path. Honestly, I've had a longer path and I've had a pretty long path, but the way they've taken us on this journey to where they are now, But it was a journey. And we had passed many different ideas to get to where we are now. So it's a journey that we have to take. Because it's really important to understand this, because we can really talk about the really complex topics. Like, for example, we can start talking about, what is the purpose of a thought? But the only reason we can talk about that is because why? We've passed all this. Because we've gone through a journey of understanding. Just imagine, right? You go up to a random stranger and say, stranger, color is in the mind. You're not seeing color. What would the stranger say? They'll type in, they'll go on Google Maps and they'll type in where? The mental asylum? Where? Angoda. Type in Angoda and then say, go on this path, enter this building, and admit yourself in Angoda Mental Asylum, right? No, it's called, I can't remember the full name for it. Mental institution, I think. Anyway, I'll go to Angoda. Because why? They don't understand when we say that, okay, color is in the mind. Because to understand that, first you have to understand the simple concept of what? Simply, in a very simple sense, the concept of cause and effect. The simple concept of that the world isn't this. The world is something that's created in your own mind. That's the world. It's only if you understand this can you start talking about, this is a manifestation that's in your mind. The color, smells, taste, touch, everything that you perceive is not what's out here, but what's in your mind. We can only talk about that once you understand that your world is different from the world out here. So, external world and internal world. That you've never seen the external world. Only when you understand this can we talk about these still things. But if you went to a random stranger and said, you're suffering because you feel fixed. You're suffering because you feel fixed. Do you think they'll understand that? You probably sound alien, right? Then they'll type in the coordinates for what? Area 51, go back to your kind. See? It's a journey. So it is a journey that you have to take. And trust me, it's a beautiful journey. For some of us, it takes so long. For some of us, according to our merits, different things happen. So put anicca into as many things as you possibly can. Into every event you possibly can. Different understandings will lead you into different paths, but let anicca sink into every moment of your life. See the world as cause and effect. See the world as cause and effect. Because only once you see the world as cause and effect, all of this is theory. All of this is theory. Theoretically, it all, wow, fates, minds, time, this and that, and continuous and discrete, and A and B, and two people, and the ear, and all this sounds very, very, theoretical. But honestly, this is all pretty much useless if what doesn't happen. If what doesn't happen? Your contemplation doesn't happen. Your putting into practice doesn't happen. Because these are all amazing things, right? Guru Handra, every week he'll come up and he'll talk about different things, right? I don't know how, but Guru Handru, he has the greatest minds. Every week he'll expand on what he talks about in ways you don't expect. But there is no point of him doing that if you don't put into practice. Almost it's good that when he preaches, or when a person sat on the dharmasana, right, on the chair, and preach, it's great that it's helping both you and them. So whether you put into practice, it doesn't matter, because the person who says it will put into practice. So Guru Hamdan himself puts what he says into practice. But only you can take the maximum if you put into practice. So put these into practice. Put these into every moment in your life. Take some time and think about these sort of things. Try to put anicca into don't try to put it into the subtle places. Put it into the big places first. And slowly it may take the path, take some time to get to that subtle place. Because that's how we take the path. Start big, start small, and turn it big slowly. Because that's the path of Nibbana. Now there's something else I really want to talk to all of you about, and this is something that I found really, really interesting, right? That our monks and our monks have been discussing within the last couple of weeks. Monks, anagarikas, anagarikas, everyone in the monastery, basically. What is the purpose of the mind? What is the purpose of the mind? What does your mind do to the pen? Let me ask you like this. What use is your mind for this pen? What is the use of your mind for this pen? But what's the use for the pen? Yes, your mind has the purpose of the mind is to perceive. But what benefit does it have on the world around it? It's a good question, isn't it? See, for example, the sun, right? Because of the process of the sun, what do we have? We have plants. Plants have animals, and we have the food chain, and because of the sun, we have different materials and whatnot and all this. So the sun is very important. But the process of the mind, how does it affect this pen? What importance is the mind to this pen? Does it have an effect? So can't we say the mind is pretty selfish? Can't we say the mind's pretty selfish? The mind doesn't give, it just takes. I'm perceiving this, I'm perceiving that, I'm perceiving this. Whatever happens to these things, I don't care, I'm just perceiving. Okay. Let's say we're going to watch a video today, right? And a video of something that you really enjoy. Let's say, for example, right? And we put a video. You'll perceive it. But what does your mind do to the video? Does your mind alter the video in any sort of way? Does the mind improve the video in any sort of way? Whether you watch it or whether no one watches it, and if we play the video will just be played. Your mind just perceives. So your mind doesn't directly affect the outside object. It just perceives, just takes. But what was the point of you watching? So let's say we're watching something. Let's say we're gonna watch an episode of Peppa Pig, right? We're gonna watch an episode of Peppa Pig, right? We're all watching, a cartoon of pig of yeah, of basically pigs and living in a house with boots and whatnot. We all watch this. By us watching it, it doesn't affect the video. It doesn't affect the TV. It doesn't affect anything out here. But what was the purpose of us watching it? What did we gain from it? What did we gain from it? What did we gain? We watched it, right? Our eyes and mind helped us to perceive sight. Ears and sound helped us to perceive sound. And what else? Oh, yeah, the mind then will process it and think and have thoughts. What else? What else? What else does it do? Okay. But the mind will arise and then pass away. So what has it done? I start a business. I start with 100 Sri Lanka, right? I start with 10,000 rupees. I earn 500 and I lose 500. Right? By the end of 5 years, that's all I've done. What was the purpose of this company? What was the net effect of that company? So what was the point? What was the point? Fine, okay. 500. I gain 1 million. I lose. What is the net effect? So what was the purpose of my company? Well, what's the purpose of my company? What's the value of my company? I have gained and lost, but profit, 0. Loss, 0. Purpose of the company, 0. Okay. TVs don't have antennas, but this is the best way to represent a TV, right? If it's a TV, and you're watching TV, you're gaining what? Sight and sound. The mind arises, the mind passes away. When it passes away, what do you have left? You have a receipt. This has a receipt, right? Every transaction has a receipt. You have a receipt here. What? That's the memory. But apart from that, what has you / the world gained? Net value. So what was the purpose of the mind? What is the purpose of the mind? Do you see that the mind to the world has no value? Okay, you can say the sun has some sort of value, right? Because the sun provides light and heat and all this. You can say this has some sort of value, like physically, because it can be used for something, and this, right? because it's all something that can happen. But what about the mind? It arises, passes away, leaves behind nothing. Nothing but a memory, but a receipt. So what is the value of the mind? Because this does not help the TV in any sort of way. It doesn't change or alter the physical TV. It just arises and passes away. So what was the purpose of the mind? You see this, right? The mind arises because of what? The mind arises because of what? The causes. But what is the main cause for the mind? For a mind to arise, the main cause is what? Necessity. In the mind base, there's in the ignorance, there's this idea of what? To know and to find out. To know and to find out. What does that cause? That causes a void of necessity. Because, okay, you have this need to know and to find out. What is the next question you have to ask? What is there to know and to find out? So what does that need? It needs a way to look, or to hear, or to smell, or to sense the outside. So what does it create in that moment? Necessity is the mother of invention. Therefore, the causes align for what? The mind to arise, and it perceives. It knows and it finds out. Oh, it's on TV. It's Peppa Pig, and passes away. That's it. It arises, finds out, and passes away. Net value, 0. Okay. The mind wants to know and wants to find out, right? You have a chance to go to you have a chance to go to the moon. Right? You have the chance to go to the moon, right? And spend a day at the moon. Okay? We all have tickets to go to the moon and come back, right? Spend a day at the moon. We get in the rocket, we go up, then what happens? You land on the moon, and then what happens? The mind wants to know and to find out, so what happens? You open your eyes, you see the moon, right? And it passes away. What was the value of the mind? So what was the purpose of you going to the moon? What did you gain apart from bragging rights? What did you gain? Nothing. Just the memory of I went to the moon. Now, what is a memory to you? Or to another person? What is a memory to another person? I remember I went to the moon. That's all I can say. All I can do is just tell you about it. I went to the moon and it was such a beautiful experience, right? I was floating in anti-gravity and all this stuff. I'm telling you now, I haven't been to the moon, but I'm telling you the same thing that you'll tell me if you went to the moon. So what is a memory to you? Or to another person? Nothing, because you can't show it. So the mind arises, the mind passes away. All you have is something just to say that I did this. All right, let's say you come back, you land back on Earth, right? You land back on Earth, and you fall over and you bump your head, you forget. You forgot that you went to the moon. Now what's the net? 0. So memory or no memory, memories are just something that the mind has just it's again necessity. There's a necessity for the mind to remember. Why? Because the mind wants to arise with whatever it can possibly have. With whatever it can possibly have, the mind wants to arise. So that's why even memory itself is a necessity that the mind has. So what is the purpose? Because we want to be happy, right? We are all going to go to the most luxurious restaurant in Sri Lanka. We go there, we have a 10-course meal, right? We stuff ourselves to our brim, and we come back home. What do we gain from that? What do we gain from that? Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and then those arose and then passed away. Net value. But your body has consumed, therefore you have what? The energy, the calories, and all the things that you've absorbed. However, within the next 24 hours to next week or so, all that will be used up. Net value, 0. But you didn't go to the place just to have energy. You went there for what? Just to see, to hear, to smell, to taste. Net value, 0. You gained 1 million, you lost 1 million. Net value, 0. Okay. Let's all go to France. Let's all go to Paris and see the Eiffel Tower. I'll pay for your tickets. All you have to do is bring yourself along. What did you gain? Well, if you went on this trip to Paris, what did you gain? What did you gain? You gained 1 million, you lost 1 million. What's net? So what was the value? What was the value of that mind that looked at the Eiffel Tower? What is the value of the mind that looked at the Eiffel Tower? So what was the purpose of going to the Eiffel Tower? Okay, you have today, for alms, you're going to have the chance to eat an exotic food that is traditional Hawaiian food. A traditional Hawaiian food. You'll never have this unless you go to Hawaii. But somehow, some way, for some reason, our monastery has decided to give it to all of you. You consume it, right? You eat it, and you taste what? You taste sweet, sour, salt, bitter, and savory and whatnot. The mind rises. You think yay. The mind passes away. You think no. Net value. So whether you ate traditional Hawaiian food or whether you ate, a loaf of bread or a bowl of rice, what's the difference? Whether you climbed up Mount Everest or whether you had a bowl of rice, what's the difference? Whether you went on the moon or whether you stayed and ran around the monastery, what's the difference? What is the difference? What is the difference? You gained 1 million, you lost 1 million. Net, 0. Now, memory is interesting as well. Memory is something that the mind uses to try to arise in the same situation. And that's why we have a memory, right? So we can remember. So, for example, if you had gone to, say, the moon, you have a memory Therefore, you can, at this moment, enjoy the feeling of going to the moon. However, the mind or the memory isn't, I'm going to say high quality. Isn't high quality. That's why just remembering is not enough. Okay, do you remember the last time you had a chocolate cake? Oh, let's not take chocolate cake. We have chocolate cakes not often, but here and there at the monastery. Do you remember the last time you had... I'm trying to think of something we don't get often. What? Something. Yeah, okay, yeah. Do you remember the last time you had ice cream? No, it's like long ago, right? But you still remember the taste of ice cream, right? And did anyone in the last 2 days have ice cream? So we can talk about ice cream. Okay, last 2 days, no one have ice cream. Okay, good. Do you still remember the taste of ice cream? You remember the feel, the cold, the taste, the smell, the sight. You remember all that. And when you remember all that, you can still feel a bit of pleasure. However, why do we still want to have ice cream the next moment? See, just talking about ice cream, some of you are thinking, today, once I go home, I'm going to have some ice cream, right? Because I haven't had it in 2 days or a week or a month or however long. But why do we, even though we remember it, why do we still want more? Why isn't the memory just enough? Because to your mind, whether you remember it or whether you are experiencing it, again, net is zero. But why are memories not enough? Because a memory is a lower quality than the real thing. And when I mean the real thing, I mean the moment of perception is different to the memory. The memory is you can almost say a lower quality. So, for example, on YouTube, you can change the quality of the video. We have like 1080, 720, and then you have like, if I remember correctly, like 144p. You can put it to 144p and guess what's going on. If there is nothing else available, 144p is something that can still give you pleasure. Agreed? So memory is like playing a video in such low quality. Again, still gives you pleasure. However, it's not enough. Not the same as 1080 with high definition, right? It's not the same. That's why you will still want to do it again. That's why if you climb up Mount Everest once, you have the memory, but then you also want it again. You also want to do it again because the memory is not enough. So here's the question, right? If you gain 1 million, you lose 1 million. If the net is zero, why do we continuously follow or continuously search for things that give us pleasure? If by the end of what you do is zero, why do we still follow things, or why do we still look or go and search for things that give us pleasure? If we enjoy ice cream, see, you enjoy ice cream, you eat ice cream, and then the mind arises, the mind passes away, zero. Isn't that why right now, if you like ice cream, you want to have ice cream right now? Because you've gained zero. You've got plus zero, minus zero. You're back to exactly where you started. That's why even now, if you want ice cream, right now, when we talk about ice cream, every time I say the word ice cream, what do you think? Ice cream. If I had some ice cream. I want some ice cream. Please, ice cream. Because you ended up with zero. Even if you had ice cream yesterday, if I talked about ice cream today, what do you want? Ice cream. Because what? Net effect? Zero. You've gained nothing. So why do we continuously search for what? Pleasure. Because we feel that no, it's not that gain zero. We gain something. We gain pleasure. We gain happiness. But happiness is also something that's felt in what? Felt in the mind. The mind arises, the mind passes away. Net effect? Zero. So what is the purpose? What is the purpose? What is the purpose of the mind? What is the purpose of the mind? Net effect? Zero. I want you to really think about this, because this is something that the more you think about, the more you realize the nature of nature. Because we live with our minds in a very self-centered world. It's all centered around what? The self. But when you realize that net value is zero, and the mind arising has no value whatsoever, you're questioning what? The self-centered world. So this is something that is very, very, well, you have to really, really think about this, right? What is the true purpose of the mind if the net value is zero? If you think about this and you look for the solution, you are attacking the idea of the self-centered world. You are no longer looking in search of the self-centered world. I know I want to maybe next week go through this in a bit more detail, but I am aware that we're running out of time. But I do really want to go through this in a bit more detail, because this is really interesting, because we know that we've talked about the eyes, the ears, and all this, but something that we don't talk about is the value of a mind. Right? We talk about the value of color, right? Because color's not in here, the color's in the mind. Color's not in the sound's not out there, the sound's in the mind. But the one thing we don't talk about is the mind. So something I really want to do is talk about the mind, because the mind is something that we use to interpret the entire world. So what is its value? What is its actual true purpose in this world? So that's something that we'll talk about. So again, really think about this. If you didn't understand this, it's okay. We'll go through this another time. But I do really want you to think about what we talked about earlier, about putting anicca into everything you possibly can, anicca or dukkha or anatta. Because different people, we have a unique way of understanding. So some people will be able to understand the theory of cause and effect very well, while other people can understand dukkha or even like the valueless nature of the world. Different people will have different ways of different, you can say, preferences. Take one and practice. And I promise the other two will also be at play as you practice one of these. But take one and practice. Put it into every moment you possibly can in your life. Whether you're, out, when you're even when you are going to sleep or waking up, when you're, getting ready, when you're consuming a meal, when you are walking. Like when you are walking, just try to understand anicca, the cause and effect nature. Sometimes you can really appreciate how amazing your body truly is. Because why? Just the act of walking, the amount of causes that have to be at play for you to walk. for you to talk, for you to breathe, for you to simply like blink. The body is one of the most, I feel, one of the most amazing machines there are out there. Almost all machines we have, right, that people have created, has to be, like, if it's broken, has to be fixed. But the body, does anyone have to like accept surgeries? We don't always have to go into surgery and get things fixed. Our body fixes itself. You have a cold or a headache, what happens? Within a week or two, it's all gone. It's an amazing feat. It's an amazing piece of machine, the body. But see the body as what? Cause and effect. See the body as cause and effect. Everything that happens, see as cause and effect. Whether something good happens, whether something bad happens, whether nothing in particular is happening, still, anicca can be put into play. Look through the world through the glasses of anicca and advance your understanding in your practice. Like I said, at first, it's something that you have to put into practice. You have to put effort into. But slowly, as time goes on, it becomes easier and becomes more natural. Right. Do we have any messages? Yeah, we don't have any messages. No. So try to put the concept of anicca into practice, right? And surrender your life to your teacher. Let your teacher, for a time being, let your teacher take the reins, and let your teachers tell you, okay, now do this, now do that. Because in our monastery, we've started this concept, this Satipatthana concept, and I can tell you how much of a difference it's actually made. Because now you're really thinking about, what actually belongs to me? What is me? What is mine? That happened because of what? Thanks to our who? Thanks to our teachers. Then before we conclude today's session, let's take a few moments to transfer merits and let's take a few moments to transfer merits and conclude. Let's take a moment to transfer all the merits we acquired by making offerings to the infinite, the qualities of the Noble Triple Gem, chant Bith, listen Dharma, and engaging in various meritorious deeds today. So first and foremost, let's remind ourselves how incredibly fortunate we are to be in receipt of Lord Buddha's teachings. And with immense gratitude, let's transfer the merits to the Bhikshu Bhikshunis, Upasakas Upasakas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teaching of the Buddha and passed it down through the generation of noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, to understand, to comprehend the Dhamma. Let's all take a moment and transfer our merits that we've acquired to all the members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including all the chief prelates of all the chapters, who have dedicated their lives to the noble path and have committed themselves towards the betterment of all sentient beings. Let's not forget, among them will be the monks and nuns residing in local temples and nunneries, who have always been by his side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let's also take a moment to transfer our merits to Guru Sananse, as well as the monks resident at the monastery, as well as the anagarikas attached to the monastery. Let's also take a moment to transfer merits and express our gratitude to those who made great effort to disseminate the teaching of the Buddha, be it thereby transliterating some and sharing them with others, inviting others to join them. May the power of the merits, if any of them have been born in the willful plane, may they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May by the power of the merits, may they abstain from non-meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So take my transfer merits that we require to our devotees, friends of the monastery, who for sake of merits Continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes every one of you who have contributed to the construction of the monastery, to those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, arms, or medicines, as well as those who pass in their hacks and their well wishes. May they power the merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Resulting moment to transfer merits to our mothers, fathers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nieces and nephews, our elders, friends and acquaintances, employees, employees, to all those who have helped us, supported us, assisted us in any way, shape, or form. By the power of these merits, may they be healed of any physical or mental ailments. May they overcome any obstacles in their spiritual progress. May they abstain from non-meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Resulting in transfer merits to the Devas, Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as numerous gods deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddhasasana. Let's not forget among them will be our garden deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May the power of their merits, may they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from their meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. This ought to transfer merits to our ancestors who have predeceased us, to all those who have been friends and family to us in this infinite long journey in samsara. Let's all take one to all those who have helped us, support us, this is in shape or form. Let's take one transfer these merits to the members of the armed forces as well as the police force who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those who lost life in the war, be the friend or foe, rejoice in the merits required today. Let's all take one transfer merits to all those who lost their lives in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, landslide, pandemics. Remaining ourselves among them will be those who have been friends and family to us in this long journey in samsara. Let's take a moment to transfer the merits to them. May the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the willful plane, may they redeem themselves having born in the willful plane. May the power of the merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, let's all resolve, may the power and blessing of all the merits required throughout the day. We even witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Aratmahin in this blessed land. And finally, may the power of merits rule quite throughout the day. You and I and everyone who have made this program a success become an Arhat Vanse or Arahat Mahin Vanse in this very life, in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of Chipocham be with you all. The members of the Mahasangha will now transfer the blessings to you. Raga ginen mitetva Dvesha ginen mitetva Moha ginen mitetva Nibbana parama sukhayin Sukhita taravidva Nibbana parama sukhayin Sukhita taravidva Mamada siyalu loka siyalu satvayo Nibbana parama sukhayin Sukhita taravidva Nibbana parama sukhayin Sukhita taravidva Nibbana parama sukhayin Sukhita taravidva Raga gini niveva Desha gini niveva Moha gini niveva Nivan sapa labeva Nivan sapa labeva Nivan sapa labeva Tunrange Susyananta Mahagunamelin Siloka Sil Satyavam Nibbana Brahmasakin Sukadaravita